to share with you guys what I picked for my random cast on. So I picked the Making number 6 black and white issue, and out of that I chose the Arctic Owl mitts. So I'm making these for Joshua. So he took an old pair of fingerless mitts that I did. They were my first color work project, and I think they're like, it's some kind of traditional Norwegian pattern. It's the one that like Skandir talks about all the time, but I can't remember what it is now. It kind of has these like X's and then like what looks like little mountains, and they're out of like pink and gray alpaca. But my thought was that I can make another pair and maybe make them a little tighter, and I'm also adding in mohair, so they'll be really warm. And then I think I'll make them a little bit longer so they can kind of go up to his whatever, this first knuckle, instead of being down here, just for a little bit of extra warmth, but still keeping the finger dexterity. So this is what I've done so far. I'm using this yarn, which I don't remember what it is, and I forget what project I used it for initially, but I had 2 colors of it. There was a brown and then this color. I believe it is alpaca yak merino. It is a sport weight, but this pattern is written for a sport weight anyway, so I'm using a sport weight but going down a needle size, so it's just going to be very dense fabric. And then the other color that I'm using is this. So this is a skein of mohair that Ada chewed into multiple pieces. It is Plies and Hellhounds, and it's the England Times colorway. Basically, I have like 40 of these little bitty pieces because I didn't want to throw it away. I was like, I can still use it for color work, holding it double, so I'm going to keep it. Maybe it's not 40, that's probably an exaggeration, but it's a lot. Do you see all of them in there? It's a lot of them. A lot of little pieces that I rescued. There's more down there in the corner. So I'm using that held double for that. And then the contrast color, I'm going to use Knit Picks Fleechy in Midnight. Held double with, this is the Beaches and Bouches mohair silk blend. I feel like there's something else in there. Nylon? Maybe? I don't know. Can't find the tag now. It's somewhere on the couch. And it's in black. So that's going to be my contrast color. He said he wants black and white, and this is pretty darn close. He picked this out of a couple different ones that I showed him. So they're going to be super fluffy and I think really warm. So I'm excited about that, and it's nice to finally use one of my magazines. I will say that like there were several sweaters in here that I really liked, but looking at them, like this magazine is not size inclusive at all. Some of them only go up to a size 48 bust, and then they are saying like 5 inches of positive ease, which would basically mean that like I couldn't even use that sizing. I never knit sweaters with that much positive ease. I usually go to like at most 1 inch of positive ease or negative ease most of the time. Just because my upper bust is so different from my actual bust measurement that if I go for it fitting my true bust, then it's really baggy on the upper chest and shoulder area. So anyway, I usually go with a size 40, though my chest measurement is 44. So I'm almost always 4 inches of negative ease. But not everybody does that. So it's not really fair to have it be that unless you're a 42-inch bust, you can't even make any of the sweaters in that magazine. That said, I have spent all the money on all of these publications, and I also don't want to be wasteful of just like having them and never making anything. So I may still make sweaters, but I will call that out, that like they aren't size inclusive if I knit them. And for some of these pattern books, I know that they later like did addendums. So if you got them and you have the code for Ravelry, that you can go and download the extended sizing. So I will say that I know that has occurred with some of the magazines. So I haven't checked yet to see if Making did that later. But in the initial publication, none of them were very size inclusive. I think the biggest size was like a 52-inch bust. And again, with the built-in ease, it's not that much. The other magazine that I picked randomly was the Pom Pom Anniversary Edition. And there are sweaters that I want to cast on out of this, but I don't want to just cast on crap tons of sweaters. Because then I'll have a bunch of sweaters on the needles, and it doesn't give me, oh, there it is, room to be flexible. So what I'm going to do, it's this issue, the Pom Pom Anniversary issue, which was summer 2017. I'm going to do these, the Bon Bon Mitts by Joji Locatelli. I have some gray silk merino sparkle yarn that I got as a gift from Anna Knitter one year when we did like Christmas box swaps several years ago. So it's been in my stash for a while. I have 2 balls of it, so I was never sure what to make with it. So I think that's a perfect application. And then I will have knit something out of my Pom Pom magazines. I have a ton of them, and I've never knit anything out of any of them, which is a shame. So I'm going to do that as well. So those are my 2 cast-ons I'm going to work on today. And then I'm going to go back to kind of working on some of the stuff I've already cast on. Just a little quick update. Oops, this is my Salty Air Tea. I've got up to the 4th row of the chart for the first repeat. And this is out of the So Scarlet colorway from Plies and Hellhounds. This is my first time knitting with her Tesla base, and I really like it. It's the one that has silk in it. So it's a little bit more drapey, but I think that'll be nice because it'll make it be a good transitional layer that can be kind of fall, winter with a heavier underneath shirt, and then spring, which I like to have sweaters that can kind of go 3 seasons. So that's my progress on that. So yeah, I'm going to get to knitting. Hello, everyone. I have almost finished the mitts that I chose from Making magazine. Sorry, I have my hair pulled back. For Joshua. So I started them yesterday. I finished the first mitt this morning, and then I cast on the second one. So I'm up to the color work on the second mitt. He's tried on the first one and loves it. So I just need to weave in the ends on that one, but the thumb and everything is done. So I have picked kind of one of each of my publications that I have a bunch of. So I picked a Pom Pom random, and then I was picking a Lane magazine because I had a bunch of those as well. So I chose Lane issue 4. Kind of similar to Making. I looked at the sweaters in here, and they are not size inclusive at all. Now, Lane took a lot of feedback from people. I actually stopped buying them for a while because they were getting some feedback and kind of weren't responding to it, but They did stop publishing for a while, kind of hired some new people, revamped things, and they are publishing again. I haven't picked up any of the newer ones to see what I think of them. But again, I do already have this magazine, so also from a sustainability perspective, I don't know, I feel like I should use it. Problem is, one of the patterns in here that I liked is by a designer that I know is really problematic, so I'm not going to knit that one. Also, it's really hard to read because it's printed on like this gray background, and then the text is black. So it's really, really hard to read some of the words on it, which are like the explanations of the patterns. So one of the things that I was thinking about in here was the Kennings yoke. It is by an American designer, Sarah Pope, and let's see. So it has this really interesting geometric design on the yoke and the hem, and I think on the cuffs as well. You can kind of see it. It looks like little triangles. God, my lighting is also crap in here. Ooh, that's even weirder. Let's see if it helps them. Okay. Yeah, so you can kind of see it. Yeah. So it's got this really interesting yoke detail, hem detail, and cuff detail. So that's kind of the one I'm thinking about. And then there's also a hat pattern in there. Let me see if I can find the Kennings yoke. The one I'm not going to knit is by Isabel Kramer. Okay, so the Kennings yoke does go up to 2XL, which is a 53-inch bust. It's a 53-inch bust. I don't think of that as 2XL, but it's at least one of the more size inclusive of the patterns in the book. It uses Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, which I think is like a DK. Pretty sure. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, if it is a DK weight yarn, no, it says worsted weight yarn. But I feel like when I've felt Shelter before, it feels very thin for a worsted weight. So I think I could probably get gauge for this pattern with a DK weight. And I have a really pretty sweaters quantity from Gabby that's kind of like this teal green color. I don't have anything that color in my current sweater wardrobe, so it would be nice that way. However, I also have some Debbie Bliss tweed that I got from my local yarn store, which is Village Wool in Glastonbury, Connecticut. It's fairly close. So I could hold that double, and it's kind of a pink with like natural tweed flex. So that would be really pretty too. And that would give me a worsted weight yarn. And I have absolutely no plans for that. I purely got it because it was 70% off. So I think the whole sweaters quantity was like $20 or something. One nice thing is they've got this sale room where they put things 70% off, and usually it's because it's a discontinued yarn or the shop has decided not to carry it anymore. And sometimes they even do percentages off of that just to get it out. And so the owner was like, I am like giving this away basically right now. So yeah, I got the pink. I have a like orange color sweaters quantity of that I got as a sweaters quantity for Josh, but I could hold it double and it would be a good sweaters quantity also. But also I should keep it for Josh. And I have blue of that same one. So it's like a pale blue, almost like the hat on the cover. It's that color of blue with some like navy blue tweed flecks in it. So anyway, I think I'm going to swatch for that one because it looks kind of fun, and I've never knit anything out of any of my Lane magazines, and I have 12 of them. So that's kind of ridiculous. I really should make something out of them. There's one that has the Lane cardigan, and that one is by Joji Locatelli. So the other thing I could do is get that one out. I think it is also a DK weight, and it's just a really basic, like deep V cardigan. Joji does really classic designs, and I know hers will have a big size range. So that's my other thought, is I may just pick another issue. Because the whole point is just that I would knit something out of a Lane magazine. So while I picked this one as my random one, I'm not committed to having to do that. So anyway, I'm gonna just knit a little bit on one of my blankets. I brought up my Coziest Memory blanket and also my Parallelogram blanket that's in all the yellows. You haven't seen this guy in a while because I had to steal one set of the needles. So it has 4 sets of size 6 needles, and I had to steal one of them for something I was working on. I think it was a sweater. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm done with whatever that project is. So now the needles are back on there so I can work on it some more. And I think I put it aside just for like Christmas, and I had test knits before that for Sam for Indian Tangled weekend. I think she was actually debuting hers at Cakepalooza, but that Rhinebeck weekend. So I haven't worked on it for a while, and I want to. So I think that I'm going to knit that. And I'm going to watch some podcasts. Because Angela posted her day 11 of the 2022 12 cast-ons. So I want to see what stuff she cast on for day 11. And I started a journaling page yesterday. I want to do a knitting journal this year. So I had a couple of blank journals. So I'm using one from Notebook Therapy that's like little cute animals, and it's like autumnal. So that's going to be my knitting journal. So I started it with 12 cast-ons. So I've got 4 cast-ons actually written down in there. And then I'm going to do, I was fitting 4 per 2-page spread. So I'll have 3 of those to get to my 12, which is perfect. So anyway, I worked on that a little bit while I had my virtual knit night with my friends. We finally got to catch up on Monday. Today I had off and I sewed an Agnes top by Tilly and the Buttons because I just felt like sewing something, and I finished the whole thing in one day because I already had the Agnes pattern drafted. I do think I need to cut some length off of the pattern because it's really long on me, so I lengthened the middle part by 1 inch, but I probably should have shortened the hem part. So anyway, I'm going to give it a bigger hem. I'm basically going to give it a 2-inch hem. So I'll do 1 inch, and then I'll turn up 1 inch and then turn that inside as well. So it'll be 2 inches off the bottom. but I think that'll be really nice. And it fits really well. I used my serger for the first time with the blade cutting, and that was terrifying, but it turned out really well. Yeah, so that's what I did today. And I worked a little bit on those mitts, like I said. Did I knit on anything else? Oh, and I knit on my my favorite adventure, which I'm doing with my Advent minis from Chromatic Yarns. So, yep, that's it for me. I did not cast on anything new today yet.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
This is probably going to mute my sound to have my hand over top of it. I have not had time to edit any of my 12 cast-ons vlogs yet. I have been working on them. I have so far cast on 5 things, I think. I cast on a So Faded That's Not Faded. I cast on the Salty Air Tee with long sleeves. I cast on the pair of mitts for Joshua. I cast on for socks. And then I cast on a pair of Felici worsted socks. And so now I'm thinking I'm going to cast on a hat. So I got the yarn ready for it. So I'm going to use this one. This is the Lola Bean Yarn Co. color for the Rhinebeck weekend. It is Leaf Voter Suppression Behind. So unfortunately I've got really a pink light because I've got a lamp I'm using that has like wow, look at that, a terracotta lampshade, and I just turned towards the sunlight, so now you can see it as it truly is. So this is the yarn. It's really pretty. I had the fingering weight in my hand, and then I was like, I have way too much fingering weight yarn. I don't have any bulky weight. I'm gonna get bulky weight. So I'm gonna make a hat with it, with a nice big cream colored pom-pom that I also got at Cakepalooza. And I'm gonna make this hat with it, the Mooncatcher hat. It is a bulky weight cabled hat, and it is by Tristan Molina of Dragon Horde Designs. So this will be my second of Tristan's patterns that I'm gonna have on the needles, but I think it'll be a pretty quick knit. I only have one other bulky weight hat, so it's kind of filling in a hole as far as hats go. Although this winter has been like not winter in New England. We've had like no snow. It melts as soon as it hits the ground. It's ridiculous. Despite that, the kids have somehow had 2 snow days. I don't know. So anyway, it's the 26th of January. For Angela's cow, they all need to be cast on by the end of January to count for prizes. So I'm going to do probably a pretty big cast on party this weekend. I'm going to try to record the rest of that. I think the remaining ones I'm going to do, I signed up for the test knit for Sam's new sweater design. So if I get it before the end of January, that will count as one. It's a DK weight striped sweater. I'm going to cast on the So Basic Sweater by Maxim Sear for Josh with fingering weight yarn that I also bought at Rhinebeck. I'm using all my Rhinebeck purchases this year. And then I want to cast on a sweater number 12, and that I have Knit Picks City Tweed yarn that I bought. So like the main color will be like this very light bluish gray tweed. And then I got one of their like packs that has one skein of each color, kind of so I could see all the colors in person. And I'm going to make it rainbow stripes. So that'll be really fun. I think I showed it one day on my Vlogmas when I was going through all of the yarn in my table. And then if I have time, I'll cast on Hot Dish Cardigan by Lindsay Fowler and start my culmination blanket, because I am going to use my Full Moons yarn from Gabby to do that. So I just need to wind that yarn up. And I'm going to do 4 strands held together because I don't want to do 6. And I'll knit off of 2 balls. And I think my friend Jen is going to do it the same way. So those are my cast-ons. I don't know if that's 12. I don't think it is. I'm journaling it, and I will get to 12. But it might not all be like sweaters. Some's going to be accessories and stuff. So yeah, I need to get back to work. I have a ton of work stuff to do, but I did want to take a little break while I wait for my tea to brew and get on here and kind of do a little update. So I'll do some more maybe this evening, but I wanted to show that yarn when the light is reasonable. Okay guys, new day, new sweater, new lighting. I did end up casting on for the hat. However, I had to use completely different yarn. So when I cast on for the hat with the Lola Bean Yarn Co., it felt really, really tight with a size 5 needle on the brim, but it looked humongous. And so I looked up, I had to look at like Lola Bean yarn on Ravelry, and I couldn't figure it out because she has a million bases. So then what I did is I went back and looked at Adela's posts from her Instagram for Rhinebeck, for which bases she was bringing the leaf voter suppression behind. I was going to say leaf no voter behind, but that's not right. Leaf voter suppression behind colorway. And I got the bulky weight, so it's the Lima Bean, I believe. I don't know. I added it to my stash just so I wouldn't forget again, because I, of course, didn't keep the label. And then when I checked that, I only have 100 yards of it. And it is, as I said, bulky. And this pattern calls for Aran weight. So luckily, I did have some Aran weight in my stash. And I had almost wound this up to cast on that hat anyway. So this is Cheer or Fear from Plies and Hellhounds. It was her Christmas colorway a couple of years ago. And then I got one skein of it on her Aran weight base. I think the Cecil base. I'm sorry, Gabby. I shouldn't even try to say your base names because sometimes I get them right, but ones that I don't have a lot of, I don't get right. And I only have 2 skeins of this base at all. The other one I have is Deep Sea Naiad, and I want that to make some mittens to match a hat I already have. So anyway, I did cast on for it. I got this far on the hat. So I have to do 2.5 inches of ribbing and then switch to the larger needles and then start the cabling on the hat. And I'm going to use this with my black pom-poms. So I got 4 pom-poms at Cake Palooza, and I was going to go get more from Fangirl Fibers. That's who I got them from. But her shop is pretty empty right now, so I think she's either between updates or maybe doing some shows, because there's starting to be some shows on the East Coast now. So there's Maryland Sheep and Wool is later in the year, but there's one Knit Centric, I think. Yeah, I think it's Knit Centric that's coming up really soon. So she may be vending at that one. So anyway, I signed up for a newsletter. So when she stocks again, maybe I can grab a couple. So I have a little stitch marker that's a coffee mug from Little Bitty Delights. That was from the Gilmore Girls like year-long yarn subscription thing that I signed up for when the Yarn at Home Mom was still dyeing yarn. So anyway, I really like how it's knitting up. It's so pretty. It's going to make a really nice cabley hat. And it's going to look pretty with the black pom-pom. I'm excited about it. So yeah, but now I'm sort of wishing that I had got more of this colorway because it would be really gorgeous as a cowl. I would love to have a matching cowl, but Limola. I do have some of the nectar that's sort of coordinating with this color. I'm going to make a sweater out of it. I think it's the hellebore color. So if I have enough left over, maybe I could do a cowl. But I only got 3 skeins of it, and sweaters usually take almost the entire 3 skeins, especially for that base because it's only 400 yards per skein. So that sweater is going to be a bit of a squeaker. And I'm going to hold it double with some Shibui mohair that I got at Village Wool. Most of the yarn shops are like getting rid of their Shibui, and it's at like a deep discount. So this was like 75% off. So I think I got the skeins at like $5 a skein or something. It was ridiculous. So I was able to get enough mohair to make a sweater. I think I got 5 skeins of it. And then I also got black and white linen because they had like a really nice linen blend, and I want to make some tank tops for this year because I always get bummed in the summer that I can't wear knitwear anymore. And Joji Locatelli had published a tank pattern a couple years ago, maybe it was last year. Anyway, I got that pattern and I want to make it. Let me see if I can find it whilst I'm talking. She did hers in black, and I think it was Shibui linen. But I thought like black and white are very like nice colors to have as underneath tanks. It's the staple linen top by Joji Locatelli, and it has some like detailing on the front. It's a scoop neck. Yeah, it's almost got like drop stitches down the front. Okay, she used the Espace Tricot Petite Lin, but I'm sure I can use the Shibui linen and it'll be fine. So yeah, I was thinking of doing that one, and then there's a Jessie Made Designs pattern that I've got, that the one that has like the drop stitches on each side. I don't remember the name of it. So those were the 2 things I was thinking of also casting on for like summer knits. I don't feel like knitting summer knits right now, but I know before you know it, it will be warm because this winter is kind of barely here, so I doubt it's going to stick around very long either. I bet we're going to have a really short spring and then it's going to be hot. So I do want to make a couple more summery garments. Yeah, so it is 8:37, January 27th. I think this is my 6th or 7th cast on, so I have a few more to do. Yeah, so today I may have a little sort through and see what needles I have available, because that's probably going to be the limiting factor now. I bet if I really worked on it, I could finish up my Felici socks this weekend, and then I would have some size 6 needles available to cast stuff on, because I'm working on my size 6. So yeah, but I have a lot of work to do today. I have tons of project deliverables for this Friday, and Joshua is homesick, so fingers crossed I don't get sick, because I finally am just now better from what I suspect was bronchitis, but I can breathe through my nose mostly, and I don't have that cough anymore. So if it's just in time to get sick again, I'm gonna be so mad, because it was so physically draining, and I'm just back to where I'm starting to be able to walk my amount of steps every day. I was thinking about lifting again. It's just such a bummer. I hate feeling like I'm just going from child sickness to child sickness. So we'll see. But yeah, I wanted to pop on here to share that I completely changed up yarn from what I had yesterday. that I was so excited about. It's fine. I'll have to make mittens or something out of it because 100 yards isn't really enough to make. Might be able to make a bulky weight hat if it's just like plain stockinette. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to get started working and I will probably chat with you guys later today. Hey, so I thought I would come and share really quickly a cast on for another project. I think I misnumbered them, so I need to cast on another one in between because I put them in my journal and then I posted them on Instagram and I didn't put them in order. So anyway, I cast on for the culmination blanket, which is from the Salt and Timber book. So I did 1 square. I decided to use my Full Moons collection from Plies and Hellhounds. So this one is Crow Moon and Like My Cold Dead Heart held double. I almost ran out of the Like My Cold Dead Heart because I used it to fix a pair of socks. So this is all I have left. I was really worried. So I'm holding 4 strands together. I'm doing the inside and outside of each cake. And then for the ones that weren't leftovers, I actually split in 2. So this one I just wound up, it is Storm Moon, which it's kind of a little bit lavender, but it's hard to tell in this light. And then the one I'm working on is in Flower Moon. So I'm about halfway through with this square. They don't take super long. They take me about 30 minutes to knit. I'm knitting them on a size 10. The pattern calls for making 30 of them. So it's a 5x6 square blanket. So if I was making 30 at 30 minutes per, it's about 15 hours for me to finish this project, which isn't too bad actually. And then it tells you how to crochet them together, so I'm going to do that. But I'm thinking I might sneak these in kind of between other projects because they are really fast. But it's one of my 12 cast-ons, so I counted this one as number 8. So then I have to fit in a number 7. Technically, I think Angela's rules are that if it makes this big of an object, you get to count each one separately because it's like a dishcloth, which would totally count. So every single one is like a big dishcloth. This would be a very large one. But I'm not going to do it that way because I can knit them so quickly. I don't know, and I don't want to count them as like 30 cast-ons. That just, I don't want to keep track of that. So I did wind up yarn for Josh's sweater, the So Basic Raglan by Maxim Sear. So I might cast that on, but I'm not sure if I have enough size 5 needles. So we'll have to see. And then I need to cast on for the test knit for Samantha of Samantha Guerin Designs, which I need to knit a gauge swatch for. So it is the Heritage Harbor sweater. That one is DK, so I do have free needles for that. I think it'll probably be a 7 is my guess of what I'll get gauge with. So yeah. Hello. I have not edited any of these, so I bet they're going to kind of all go together. I might kind of combine a couple of cast-ons, but my cast-on number 7, I think, is going to be the Heritage Harbor test knit for Samantha Guerin of Samantha Guerin Designs. I'm going to use this color as my main color. It is Cat Eye Winked on Pole DK from Plies and Hellhounds. And then this color, which is Pool of Starlight, also on Pole DK from Plies and Hellhounds. I originally had bought these two to go together as a colorwork sweater. There was an original plan, and then I switched to a different plan. Cast on for that sweater. I I didn't do it. It's a Zenit Knits pattern, and so I frogged it, and I'm going to cast on for a striped sweater. Now, I'm going to have way too much of this color yarn because the size that I'm going to knit is a 40-inch bust. Although she says to knit it with 4 to 8 inches of positive ease, I won't wear it if I have that much positive ease, because we all know 4 to 8 inches of positive ease on my bust is going to mean that I have 14 inches of positive ease on my waist, which no, I'm not. No, I don't want to wear a bag. So that's fine. I signed up to test knit the size 3, which is traditionally the size I make, a 40-inch bust. The only thing I might need to do is knit longer for the armholes. I'll have to see as I knit it, but I also have very small arms on the upper part, so I think I'll be fine. And when I looked at the schematic with all of the measurements, the upper arm circumference, the armhole depth for the size 3 is 6.4 inches. So it's going to be about 13 inches. And I think that's pretty normal for a sweater. And it's also a drop shoulder. So it's really talking about like here, not up here, because it's going to be kind of down there where it joins. So I think I'm going to be fine, but I'm test knitting, so I can give feedback on if I feel like the arm circumference is too tight. And I can adjust. So that's what I'm going to do. I am, however, going to gauge swatch with a different skein of the Pole DK because I have some leftovers of Sorcière from my other test knit that I did for her. And whoa, now I just threw the pattern on the floor. Then I won't have to frog and use the gauge swatch. I wouldn't have to anyway because I'm not going to use all of it. But I think I'll have enough to make a sweater for Joshua, a striped sweater for him. Because I got 5 of the main color. I'm going to need about 3.5. And then I only need 1, not even a full one, of the contrast color. So I think then I'll have enough left to make a sweater for him, and he would look amazing in that navy blue. It's going to look so good on him. So anyway, I have this left over from my sweater. It's plenty to make a gauge swatch. Then I can wash it, block it, and keep it until the end of the project to refer back to if I need to. So that's what I'm going to do. It's the same yarn. It's the same base. It's the same everything. It's just a different color. And that way I don't have to unravel my gauge swatch. Yeah, so I'm going to do that when I'm done with work this evening so that I can get that washing and blocking. And then I can cast on. I'm going to try both a size 6 and a size 7 needle just to see which fabric gets closer to the gauge. I think Samantha used a 6. And when I've done her pattern testing before, it seems like we have very similar gauges. We must be about the same tightness of knitter. But, you know, every single one is different. When I'm test knitting, I always gauge swatch. So I'm going to gauge swatch. It's just a stockinette. So it's not going to take super, super long to do a stockinette swatch. Sorry, looking at my stash. Okay, and then I also wound up a couple of things. Josh just went to get Megwin, so that's why I wanted to record a little bit. So I wound up for 2 more squares on the culmination blanket. So this one is Thunder Moon. I wound it into 2 cakes. And then I wound up Grain Moon, so I have 2 cakes of Grain Moon. And then I'm going to cast on a couple of pairs of vanilla socks as well because I do need more socks, especially with Megwin sharing them with me. We need more socks. So this is, it's one that you can get from Joann's. Deborah Norville. Sorry, it's Deborah Norville. And it's her Serenity sock weight. I've had this in my stash forever. It's been so long. It's old. It's really, really old. I don't even know if they still make that yarn. But anyway, I want to get that out of my stash. So my sort of to myself resolution this year is to just bleed down some of my sock yarn stash because I have a ton of it. A bunch of my commercial sock yarn stash. And then I had these 2 balls of Drops Fable that I think I got in a swap package or in like a gift package. But I thought they'd be fun for Valentine's Day because they've got like reds and pinks and a little bit of green and some purple. So I'm going to maybe look and see if I have some Valentine's Day sock pattern that has like heart lace. I think I do. I feel like I've got one that's got like a lace work heart on the leg. So that's what I want to make with these. So yeah, Drops Fable, Deborah Norville sock, 2 more blanket squares, and I'm going to knit the, now I want to call it the Harbor Freight sweater, which is ridiculous. It's not the Harbor Freight sweater. Heritage Harbor, the Heritage Harbor sweater. So those are what I'm going to cast on. Oh, and I wound up yarn. So that would be what? It would be, I've got 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 11 is going to be this. Cake's as big as your head. This is, I think, 1,200 yards or 1,100 yards of Cece's wool in the honeybee colorway. I got it at Rhinebeck for Josh to make a pullover. So I'm going to make this So Basic Raglan by Maxim Cyr. Printed out the pattern. It is ready to go. Here's the other ball. It's going to be a top-down raglan. I've never made one for Josh. I'm really excited because top-down in the round raglans are fast for me because I am a fast knitter when I don't have to flip. And all of his stuff I've made for him so far is also heavyweight yarns. And on like a size 5 to size 6 needle, I can fly. But if it's anything above that, it's because of my hand size. I have small hands. Actually have trouble gripping the needles, and so I slow down a lot. So I really have good feelings about this one. Plus, winter is not kind of happening here in New England, although it is supposed to get cold this weekend. But I think he would get a lot more wear out of a lightweight pullover that he could kind of wear like a shirt, because he has a couple of long sleeve Henleys and he wears those quite often. So it would kind of fill in that space for a long sleeve Henley. So that's 10. For 11, I want to cast on the Snow. The Snow sweater by Anna Johanna. Out of my Yugen on Gabby's Tweed Base. So Once Upon a Corgi, Yugen, those 4 bottom skeins are it. It's a gorgeous, like, deep burgundy color. And, excuse me, the last thing that I want to cast on is either the Camellia top. I might do this one. The Camellia top. It is a bottom-up lace tank top out of my Frogged Jilted Rose on the Strassa base from Woollenvine. It's really old stash. I knit a Caitlin Hunter pattern out of it that I ripped out when all of the stuff went down. And I kind of didn't like the way it fit me anyway, and I ran out of yarn for the sleeves, so they were a different color. It was not working for me. But I'll have plenty for that. So I did reskein, wash, and that's now drying, that yarn. So that's one choice. Or the sweater number 12 using my Knit Picks City Tweed colors. Let me flip these right here. So doing this as the main color and then rainbow stripes. So those are my choices for my number 12. I may do both of those if I have miscounted, which is quite possible that I've miscounted. But I'm going to go and have a look. I did journal. The ones I've done so far are in here. With the exception of one. So here I've got numbers 1 through 4. So we have Salty Air Tea, So Faded Sweater, Arctic Owl Mitts, Revivify Socks. I'm almost done with the Arctic Owl Mitts. Some Worsted Weight Felici socks. The Mooncatcher hat. Then, yeah, the Culmination blanket is the other thing I've cast on. So that would be 7, and then 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I'm right. 8, 9, 10. Yes, because there's 3. 2 vanilla socks, Josh sweater, and then Camellia or sweater number 12. I'm leaning towards Camellia just because I already have the yarn and it's smaller. Sweater number 12 is like a full-on DK weight long sleeve sweater versus the Camellia top will get done sooner. But on the other hand, I would wear it later. I don't know, guys. But I need to figure it out in the next day. So tonight I have to cast on like half of those. And then tomorrow I need to cast on the rest of them for them to count in Angela's cal. And I do want to do all 12 because it's just fun. It's fun to do all 12. So anyway, I'm going to go back to work. And I will see you guys this evening to cast on. But I wanted to show things while I had good light to share yarn colors, because we all know at like 5 o'clock, 4:30, it's dark. And my light is crap for showing you colorways. This is not going to go in here without two hands. So just a wee update. I need to go back and take video / pictures, etc. of my cast-ons, but I wanted to show you guys my Heritage Harbor test knit. So I ended up not being able to get gauge with the pole DK, and Sam does say in her pattern that she used, I guess, a heavy DK, but it's I think a woolen spun, so when you block those, then they end up like really fluffing up and they get they fill in all the holes. So I went back in my stash and looked, and I had this brown, which is Frog Tree Merino worsted, and my mom got me this for my birthday a long time ago. I think Megan was like 3 or 4, and it looks like this. So it's sort of a loosely spun 2-ply. So it's 2 strands plied together. But it's very thick and snuggly and warm. So I was like, okay, I've got 13 skeins of this. So I had more than enough for the pattern. I cast something on for this, or with this before. It was an Andrea Mowry pattern. Anyway, I ended up ripping it out. I think it was the throw over. But that was the inspiration for my contrast yarn, because I was knitting it originally with some Spin Cycle that a friend gifted to me that was left over from her projects. So she sent me like 3 different colors that were leftovers of the balls. So I had some blues, some yellows, and kind of this orangey red yellow combo. So this one is Rusted Rainbow. I had 1 full skein and then 2 like leftover skeins. So for the back, I used the first leftover skein. This is really hard to do backwards. Okay. For the back, I used the first leftover skein. So it had this pink and orange, this lavender, and then it started to go into yellow. So I was like, I don't want to use that unless I have to, because this yellow purple combo doesn't feature anywhere in the second skein. So anyway, I kind of stopped with that one. On the front, you do back and forth till you join in the round. So I did actually cut the yarn to make it match on both sides of the neckline, because I thought it would look weird if it didn't. So it does match on both sides for these two stripes. And then once I'm working in the round, I'm still going on my full skein. So it is starting to go a little bit into the purple now. So it's this kind of lighter lavender, and it has a little bit of mint in it, which my second skein also has. And then it does have some of that yellow in the middle. Let's get out that second skein. This is my second skein I got from my friend. It doesn't really have any of that purple, but it has a mint green and then this light peach. So I kind of have to just embrace that Spin Cycle is all over the place in terms of color, and it's fine because the brown is really kind of anchoring it, and you know, it looks like it's at least the same yarn, even if it's not the same color. So it looks kind of like I'm using hand spun. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm using a Spin Cycle as my contrast color, Frog Tree Merino as my main color, and this light chocolatey brown instead of the two Blyson Hellhounds colors I said before. I'm sorry, my throat is really dry this morning. So, and I just woke up, so I'm not putting myself on camera because, yeah. So that is the update. I have tried it on. It fits really well. I did add length to the armholes because I was concerned that for the size I chose, which is the amount of positive ease called for in the pattern, that the armholes would be too tight. Because when I knit it to the size that they said, they're like 12 inches. And I thought that was too little. So these are actually 14. So I gave myself 2 more inches because it's drop sleeves. So they're going to kind of go down onto my bicep, which is sort of the meatiest part of your arm. Excuse me. So I'm probably going to have to pick up the amount of stitches for the next size up in the pattern on the sleeves. And then I think I'm going to decrease down to the size called for in the size I'm choosing to test knit. I'll still look at the other size, but, you know, obviously you want to knit a sweater that fits you. I don't want to just knit it to the pattern just because. And if you ever test knit for Sam, she's really great about that. Like, I always put waist shaping in, and she doesn't have a problem with that at all. This one I may not. I don't know. I chose a size 40. It's supposed to be, like, because it's drop shoulder, it's supposed to be a box with sleeves on it. But we'll see how I feel about that when I get past my fullest part of my bust, if I really just want it to hang from there. I have made some sweaters that way before. My Winterfjell is like that. I don't have any waist shaping on it, and it's a look. It's fine. But I do think of it as more of a relaxed kind of around the house sort of sweater and not a more formal sweater because of that. Because it's more relaxed and kind of doesn't have that more fitted look. But if I have enough of this yarn, which I think I do because I have 13 balls, so I have quite a bit more than it calls for in the brown, I may make it just longer to be more tunic-like so that I could wear it with leggings. And then I think I would like that a little bit more oversized, straight silhouette if I had like just leggings underneath. So anyway, those are my thoughts. that's my plan. This is cast on number 7, updated.